Mark, my friend, welcome back to the show. I wanted to just dive straight into, I think, one of the topics that everyone is figuring out. You see a lot of startups.
Yeah.
What are you seeing on the go-to-market side regarding AI and the sort of AI first approach?
Yeah, sure. Hey, first off, buddy, good to see you. I love like we catch up now on podcast openings. For those of you who don't
Totally.
know,
I think
George and
it's
I
the
go
best
back
way to
like
do it.
we go back like 20 years. We've done everything from like coffee walks in Silicon Valley to like midnight patio beers in Miami. Talking, that's always fun to jam about what we are seeing in the startup ecosystem. So good to hang here too, man. Um,
Absolutely. Well, I
But yeah,
appreciate your time.
jamming, yeah, this is a crazy time, dude, right? Like we've been through decades of this and this is crazy. Um, for context, one of the things the thing I do mostly today is run Stage 2 Capital, which is a VC firm running back by all the sales and marketing leaders in tech from OpenAI to Anthropic to Lovable to Databricks to Snowflake to Zoom to Salesforce to Workday, et cetera. And so we look at about 500 startups a month. We do about one investment per quarter. So a pretty big yield and ratio. And everything's moving so fast. Like it's crazy for everybody because it's like we almost have to like every 3 months reset where the frontier is. And obviously doing a lot of thinking around the go to market motion. So I think um, it's starting to become fairly clear what this year could look like from the best in class go to market teams. And I think the first thing I've been pushing the ecosystem on, which still many people aren't at yet, is just like how you're measuring the ROI. And I
Mm.
think like we're shooting this here in the beginning of June 2026. I think we're on a transitional moment here. Like just every week is a different transitional moment. And I think what we're seeing generally is a lot of questions about whether all this spend is worth it. And it will be. It's just a little crazy and unorganized right now. You're starting to see in the press the last month, like big companies who blew through their entire token budget or AI budget, and we're only 5 months of the way through the year. So we're starting to see early signs of like the CFO office shutting, like organizing it better. I don't want to say shut it down, but no longer like it's a free fall for all. Everybody signed up to Claude and Gemini and ChatGPT and Perplexity. We'll pay for everything. Like it's just, I think it's starting to get a little more like, hey, we just burned through a pretty big check like last month. And was that really worth it? Like, can you justify that to me, whether you're an engineer or salesperson, whatever? Okay. So I think that's kind of like what we're in right now is like, how do you firmly measure the ROI? And I think that gives us guidance as to where the low hanging fruit is to just become a top 2% go to market team. Um, in sales, that's easy because it just comes back to like productivity per rep and LTV production. Now, those things are lagging indicators. And I would say if I were to extract that back one step, like the production of a rep, I love to root it in the revenue velocity formula. This thing doesn't get enough play. Do you know about this, George? Have you heard of this
No,
revenue?
please.
It doesn't get enough play because it's such a first principles foundation. And George, obviously, that's going to be a theme for us today. Is like making sure as we enter into this new era that we extract back to first principles because what we did last year was a build on top of like all these other things and it can confuse as to what actual first principles are. So revenue velocity is a great example. Revenue velocity is the number of active opportunities that a rep is working times the close rate times the ACV or revenue on the contract divided by the sales cycle. So let's
Mm.
say number of quarters. And that actually, it actually basically calculates if you're like an engineering mindset, it is actually calculating your team's dollar production per time period. So if you put in the denominator quarters, it'll basically calculate the average number of dollars being created per rep per quarter, which is your PPR. It just breaks it down to these numbers. And so like AI has the potential to change all four of those number of opportunities being worked, close rate, ACV, and sales cycle. The easiest one to move right now is number of opportunities worked. If you got to be careful about trying to tweak ACV because that could skew you out of your ICP, your target market. Sales close rate, great, and we could talk about how to move that, but it's just, and then sales cycle, shrink that. We can talk about how to do it, but it's just way easier to double the number of opportunities worked per rep these days with AI than it is to double the close rate or shrink the sales cycle in half, because the other two are fairly dependent on buyer behavior too, and that's a little out of your
Yeah.
control. But the number of opportunities worked is exclusively in your control. So that in like 2026 is the biggest unlock to productivity increase. So go ahead, and I'll extract it one more level. But did you have a question?
Yeah, I was asking, are there any specific sort of attributes of the way that you can use AI, or I should
Yes.
say, sort of
Yes.
use cases that you have been able to see
Definitely.
that really move that metric?
Yeah, let's get there. So like all I'm saying is like, principle number one, let's hold our organizations accountable to like a metric to know if we're actually how sales enabled we are. Like every board, we're so AI native, blah, blah, blah. This is how we're measuring it. Like in the long-term productivity per rep, you extract it back. We look at it in terms of revenue velocity. The metric I think that I'd recommend you move is number of opportunities worked per rep. To pull it back from there, the one level back from there is selling time. Do you know this one, George? Selling time?
No, please
Okay,
enlighten
so
me.
selling time, I mean, like, again, like, these things are all thrown around in different words, and, like, unfortunately, we haven't codified the go-to-market field as much as, like, finance and other places, so we just don't have much consistency, but selling time is traditionally, represents the percentage of a week that a rep is face-to-face with a buyer or prospect, okay? And so historically, it's been about 30% for best-in-class companies, because we spend so much time prospecting, in meetings with our manager, doing pipeline reviews, forecasts, updating CRM, preparing for meetings, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing that's easiest to move right now, like really basic stuff. Okay. So I think the best in class teams by the end of this year will get to 75%. I don't know where you can max out. You can't get to 100% because a rep can't just like end a meeting and go into a meeting 30 seconds later and do well. Like you have to get stuff into your brain, right? To like be able to do well. So there's still some sort of like maximum tolerable amount of selling time that's not 100%. It's probably like 75, 80, whatever. And the best in class teams will get there. Okay. So that's our goal. And I think that frames it fairly well. So what are the best ways to do that? What are the most, the greatest use cases? Obviously like eliminating all the CRM update time,
Yeah,
basic
that's what I was
stuff.
thinking,
We've
all
been
the
talking
admin
about
stuff.
that. Yeah. Like the AI should be able to, essentially like, here's the picture. Um, Clearly define the point of work between the rep and the buyer, which happens on Zoom, email, Slack, maybe text and phone. Set up the architecture such that that unstructured transcript is automatically captured and sucked into your AI agent brain. Then you're good. You have all the unstructured data there. There's all this other science around whether you should structure it or not, all that kind of stuff. But now essentially you can just build agents to prompt it. Like, I'm about to do a call with this account. What's
Mm,
the next best thing I should do in my territory this minute? What's the next best step on this account? I'm about to do a call with these folks. Prepare me for the meeting. Are there, there's everything. What is the pipe? Like, what's the forecast for the quarter? Um, what are, how good is George on his medic capability? Um, if I have sales capacity to open up 10 new accounts across my 50-person team today, which 10 accounts should I go after? Like
yeah.
everything. And it's like, it's not trivial to knock those down, but like you get the point is like, if you can capture all the unstructured data on the point of work between your rep and the market, um, then you've enabled all these things. Now, let me get one more one more level specific, like in terms of the top use cases, and I'd love your opinion too on what you're seeing. But I would say number one would be just get rid of all the CRM updating. It's easy,
Yeah.
and that allows pipeline forecast. Number two would be like account strategy. Like after you finish like a call, what's the next steps? Prepare me for the next steps. Get me prepped for the next meeting. Create the demo wireframe. The one that I'm not seeing enough that moves the needle a ton is sales methodology assessment per rep. Like I'm not seeing a lot of agents on like, hey George, like good job on that call. Here's the next steps. Here's the demo wireframe. I've already updated the CRM. And also, I just did analysis of your last 21st meetings and I scored you on Medic. You're 9.1 on M, 5.2 on E, 7.1 on D, et cetera, et cetera. And based on that assessment, you had mentioned to me that you want to do 2 hours of personal development or skill development every week. This is the next best 2 hours that you could do to get better.
Yeah.
That's not hard. I mean, it's harder than like create the demo wireframe, but that moves the needle. Like AI, if set up right, can coach your reps much better than most managers today. All right. So hopefully that gives you the whole picture, George, of like end game is like, let's get a better ROI. And it's clearly like George has been with us for 5 years and over those 5 years has continually produced 300K per quarter with a variance of 5%. And now I created this AI machine and he's now producing 650K a quarter. That is a great ROI. The step back from that is the revenue velocity formula. The step back from that is the number of opportunities is the easiest one to move. The step back from that is focus on selling time and let's measure it with AI first. And the step back from that are some of these use cases, set up the architecture to capture the point of work unstructured data and focus on auto CRM updates, focus on like next best call, next best action. And the big gap right now is focus on the skill development assessment per rep. Sorry for the
Question.
mouthful, dude. You
No,
follow me though, right?
It makes total sense. I mean,
Yeah.
especially the selling time kind of piece there, right? Because that
Yeah.
is, in my opinion, one of the low hanging fruits, right? That you can really be able to allow what we've been wanting forever, which is reps actually focus on selling and not admin work, right? And I think that's what reps have dreamed of too. I mean, how many reps out there listening to the show love to do Salesforce updating, right? Zero, right? Well, maybe there's some weirdo out there that
Yeah.
that likes it for whatever reason. What do you think is in based on what you're seeing right now? Because I'm sort of like seeing all kinds of different things. I haven't seen any really like world class implementation yet that goes end to end. And so my question is, what is the interface of the rep, right, to be able to do this prep work? I mean, the
Yeah.
agents that you can set up on the back end to do, I know there's a couple systems out there to do the CRM updating, etc. That's relatively like straightforward.
Yeah.
But what is that? Yeah, what is
I
that
don't know.
interface?
Like everyone's doing different ones. Some people do it direct on Claude.
Yeah, the
Who
MCP stuff.
knows? Like there's so
Yeah.
many different options. Like I think like my guess would be very technically savvy, perhaps tech-based companies might like platform on Claude as the interface. I mean, I was just with, I don't know if I should say, I think it was public. Hold on 1 second. Yeah. All right. I mean, I was just with like a big public company CRO last week, and they told me they canceled their Salesforce like 4 months ago,
Hmm.
and they have like 2,500 reps, so they're like running on like the Claude and Databricks. So like I think you're gonna see a lot of like variation there. I think I have a lot of conviction that perhaps a little more legacy sales teams like you see in insurance or healthcare will not run on a Claude Databricks infrastructure. I think there's room for probably verticalized solutions in there in the future. And that's something we're looking at pretty hardcore at Stage 2 Capital. I think like the really like native AI companies will probably run on a Claude Databricks infrastructure. And then I think you'll see a lot in between. I don't know how the incumbents will do. I don't know if there will be a new like horizontal solution and go to market. Like these are all up in the air. The one that we're very bullish on and creating value along the lines that I said right now is Letter AI. It's a
Mm,
company that we did last year, and Battery came in on the Series B, and they basically do that whole like, regardless of your input, they've kind of centralized the um, you got a meeting, help you prepare for the meeting with like a buyer agent that you can practice with that actually is that buyer from that company. So great. Then coaches you in meeting and then updates the CRM and then updates your skill assessment and helps you figure out how to get better. Like that, I think that's an important loop. And that's irregardless of like how you decide to enter the stuff in. So I don't know. We'll see different components, but I think that's like the North Star right now is that selling time. So just like very tactically measure it, make it better, and find a way to get all that unstructured data into the central brain, however you choose. We at Stage 2 use Granola for our Zoom calls. We've built our own Cloud agent to suck in our emails and our
mhm.
Slacks. You know, like there's just different ways to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I think one of the core data sets that are available now pretty readily are these transcripts, right? And you can do so
Totally.
much with that,
Yeah.
right? I had a question about style because you talked about sort of identifying that rep that's crushing quota consistently for the last 5 years, et cetera. In my sales career, I have seen that a specific, and this is pseudo qualitative, right? You have rep A that's doing really great, and he or she has their specific style. And then you have, let's just say, rep F that is doing equally as well, but has a completely different style, right?
Yep.
And then you have all these folks in the middle that maybe are underperforming or whatever. But it's as a former sales leader, it's very interesting to be able to look at rep A and rep F and then say, okay, well, what are the commonalities? And when you listen to them, or we used to sit there and follow in person, we'd call
Yeah,
it
sure.
following, right? And
Yep.
you go, they're telling similar
Right.
stories, but they have their own flavor, they have their own angle. What do we do in those situations? And I know that's a kind of a bigger
No, dude,
question
that's
there.
like such a common one. It's not being asked enough. Like this is great. Like because I've done 80 of these in the last 3 months, and like it's awesome when I stumble across an important and unique question that you've just asked. Okay, so I think in abstract, if we zoom out for a second, this is part of part of like the reason I publish Science of Scaling right now, is we are in a first principles moment where we're building these AI agents, we're redefining this field, but unfortunately, we're using what we did last quarter as opposed to really s- stripping this down to its studs and building it back up in the most efficient way. And that's really what the Science of Scaling the book does is it takes all in the same way that we've got rigorous frameworks for 100 years on how to measure profit and accrue revenue and on the accounting of revenue side, it creates those same frameworks for scaling in terms of like when and how fast and how do you measure these things and coach reps, et cetera. So like if we just rip that one down to its studs, you're right. A lot of these teams are like not optimizing it because they're building off of what we did last quarter. This is our top rep. Let's just turn that top rep into an agent. But you and I both know if you look at the top, if we have 1,000-person sales team and we interview the top 10 reps, they're not the same. There's multiple ways to get to top performance. It happens all the time. Like one rep is just an activity hound, and that's why they're number one. They're A plus at activity and they're B at discovery, demo, whatever. But because they're A plus at activity, top performance. Rep number two, A plus at discovery and pain development, B at activity. Right. So your top agent rep is not usually your top rep. It's an accumulation of each reps hit a different A plus level. Okay. And so we've had this for decades, which is why um the best teams who don't not a lot of teams do this, use a data-driven coaching model.
Mm,
They don't just assume, oh, George missed his number, it must be activity. Let's teach him how to do more prospecting, which is the default. Instead, it's like, oh, George missed his number. Let's look at the 47 different pieces of the sales methodology and how he's performing on each one and diagnose the place where he could improve the most and align that with a personalized coaching model.
mm.
That's how it's done well. It's been that way for decades. And AI has an opportunity to honestly do it for us. So I hope that answers your question, George, is like, yes, when you look at the top 10 reps on a 1,000-person sales team, you will see different paths to success. And we have to appreciate what is the top performance on each mini step. And that starts to represent our optimal AI agent, but that is not found in a single rep.
Yeah.
Okay. Another classic example, George, of like we're building the wrong models is an ICP. I'm seeing a lot of demand gen agents right now that are defining ICP based on signals, triggers, and intent. And this is just like a repeat of the 2005 issue that we had when content marketing and inbound happened. Was be like, it's hard for today's entrepreneurs to like conceptualize this. Like websites actually didn't exist in 1999. But like if you go back to that moment and now we had websites, for the first time we had inbound leads. And the mistake that everyone did was they all tried to sell to every inbound lead because they're like, oh my gosh, of course they just requested a demo for my problem with my product. And they failed to realize and I'll make an exaggerated example here, that request came in from a pharmaceutical company in Japan. And their product team had built the product for hospitals in North America. And even though that pharmaceutical company had the pain, they weren't within the ICP because ICP aligns what product built with where go to market goes after. And if you are simply building your AI agent on intent, then you're going to start selling to a lot of people who are easy to close, but are going to churn like crazy because product didn't build for them. So there's again, there's all these first principles that are being overlooked as we build these agents. And that's, part of the reason why I put out Science of Scaling. And thank you for, the platform and in talking about a little bit and these principles. And as we've talked about, and a cause for both of us, I'm donating all the proceeds to mental health. And so in addition to hopefully um, contributing a piece of the work to help us elevate in the next era of our field, I'm also, hope that the work can also help mitigate some of the societal transformations that we have to go through as well.
Yeah. Mark, thanks so much. Well, I want, just for the folks out there, pick up Science of Scaling. The Science of Scaling is on Amazon, any other channels
That's a
that
good
folks.
one. Yeah, just buy it on Amazon. Yeah. And George, like as you and I have jammed, not only with the mental health concept, there's two pieces to it. Number one, it's been a big thing in my life. It's crazy that we've come a long way since my parents' generation. It's less of a stigma, but it's still
Yeah.
a stigma. When we interview someone that's a cancer survivor, when we find that out, we elevate our perception of them. When we find out that they're a mental health patient and recovering, we have concern. And that's just not fair. Their diseases, they're often genetic. And unfortunately, folks have to suffer in silence. I've been a caregiver. I've also been a patient. I can bravely say that in public because I've been blessed with certain resume points that society values. So I can be more vulnerable than most. And I hope that we can change that. And we're making progress and we just need to make more. And the second piece to it, as I alluded, we're spending 100 times more building and with capital, time, resources, this AI stuff. We need to balance that with helping society come along.
Yeah.
in the tech community. We can't delegate this to Washington or academia. They're just not close enough to it. So, let's just all find a little way to balance our building with helping society adapt. And thanks for the platform, George, to help do
No,
that.
thank you, my friend. Mark Roberge, the legend. You're not just a friend, but someone that I admire so much and go to for strategies. Pick up, folks, The Science of Scaling right now. Mark, have a great day.
You too, George. Thanks so much, man.